8. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to live with brother-in-law anymore? Original post. My husband, 32 male, and I have been married for 2 years. His dad and stepmom are going through an ugly divorce. So his half-brother, 17 male, has moved in with us to live for a year until he starts college. My husband loves his brother, treats him like a little kid, and is overprotective of him. I find brother-in-law's behavior obnoxious, and we are having too many arguments over this. He's been with us for only a month and a half, and I can't stand it. I really don't think I can put up with it for a year. It started off with him making messes and throwing away leftovers. Since I do most of the cooking and cleaning, it was increasing my workload. My husband's list of chores have not increased by his presence, so he was being dismissive of my complaints. Since husband wasn't saying anything, I tried telling him to pick up after himself. Brother-in-law retaliated by spanking my butt. Anytime I tell him to do something, he hits my butt hard and laughs. Husband told him to knock it off, but he keeps doing it, and husband treats it as if he's just playing around, no big deal. Not only is it very disrespectful, but it's really painful. After that, he started randomly picking me up and carrying me around. I'm a little over 5 feet and 120 pounds, and he's tall and stocky. I hate it, and husband just thinks he's goofing around and trying to be friends with me. I work from home, and the other day, when it was just him and me in the house, he picked me up and ran with me to my bedroom and threw me on the bed. It really scared me, but he just laughed at me and left. Husband thinks that I'm being dramatic by being scared of this. I think his behavior is escalating, but my husband tells me to act like the adult and not blow up over a kid's playfulness. I am anxious every day, and I am seriously thinking of moving out, though it'll be difficult to afford it. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I don't feel safe in our own home? Now for some advice before reading the update. C-Dennis-1726 says, not the a-hole, put your foot down. No, you are still nearly newlyweds and your marriage is important. Have another sterner talk with your husband and about how it's impacting you. Ultimately, it's up to you, but if my husband dismissed my feelings and concerns for someone else who isn't his child, it would raise a red flag for me. 17 years old is not a kid in regards to behavior. This teen is pushing you and laughing that your husband is on his side more than yours. It comes across as juvenile dominance behavior. This 17-year-old is likely looking for control and power given his life is in upheaval and has stumbled upon the easiest way, making someone smaller uncomfortable. It starts as bullying and escalates to abusive behaviors. In this case, sexual harassment of the sister-in-law. OP, you need to leave. Go stay with your parents, siblings, friends for a while. In all likelihood, your brother-in-law will escalate this behavior because he's enjoying your escalating discomfort in line with, if I'm uncomfortable and unhappy, she should be too. This likely comes from his own pain and anger at his own lack of control over his life. But your brother-in-law needs therapy, and you're not his punching bag or worse, his pet or a toy, which is how you're being treated. Your husband is blind to this behavior, and frankly sounds like the type to blame you if your brother-in-law escalated further and rapes you. Rape is where this type of juvenile dominance behavior leads when combined with sexual harassment. Your husband is not seeing that his baby brother is neither a baby nor acting like a brother to either you or your husband, and is overtly disrespecting both your marriage and human autonomy. Leave, OP, and possibly reconsider this relationship without sincere apologies and couples therapy. Your husband has failed you. This person says, that is the thing. I have never met a 17-year-old who would think that this is okay behavior. I used to work with 18-year-old college kids for years after being a teenager myself. His behavior is not normal. This isn't a 7-year-old not understanding that slapping a stranger's butt is inappropriate. This is a grown man physically and sexually assaulting a woman. I'm relieved to see the update that OP is moving out temporarily. There are only 2 options here. 1, the brother-in-law is absolutely doing this with sinister intentions and she is in danger. 2, the brother-in-law was raised with horrible boundaries and has zero idea what he is doing is terrifying and considered assault. If 2 is really the case, OP is the only person in the family who is protecting brother-in-law by teaching him these boundaries far too late, before he ends up at college with a sexual assault charge because some random woman, rightfully, doesn't think he's playing around. Human 060989 says, it reminds me of a guy I knew in high school who liked me. He would pick me up and carry me around and I would get yelled at. I was told over and over not to lead him on, no matter that I'd told him no dozens of times and was barely polite. Finally, at a party one night, we did not go together and I would not have gone if I'd known he was invited. He put me in a chokehold to the point that I blacked out. And finally with that, an adult took my side. The host's mother happened to be there and saw me hit the floor when he let go. Saw me gasping and choking for air on the floor, unable to speak, while he and his buddy laughed. That even with an adult witness, I had several chats with adults who wanted to explain my role in this relationship and encouraged me to be nice since there was no consequences for him. There is nothing fun or funny about someone bigger and stronger physically manhandling you. I agree completely that the husband is doing his brother no favors. Brother-in-law needs a serious lesson on consent. Now for the updates. Update 1. Thank you so much for your comments and validating me. My husband and me confused and believing that I was overreacting. I'm so relieved to hear from so many people that this is as dangerous and as bad as I feel. I packed a bag in my car and some important belongings and documents. I am 29 female for those who asked. I forgot to put that in my post. I called and talked to my mother-in-law early in the morning. She's always been very nice to me, and at my wedding she told me she thinks of me as her daughter. My mom passed away when I was young, and I don't have any siblings, so that had moved me very much. So I was very nervous about talking to her because I didn't want to ruin that relationship. But she was so shocked when she heard the details. She said that she'd talked to my husband and father-in-law, and this was unacceptable, and told me to come stay with her until I got it resolved. Brother-in-law is out with his friends till tomorrow for the 4th of July, so it gives me some time to have one more detailed discussion with my husband. I'm also going to show him the Reddit post, and hopefully his mom's talk and these comments will be a wake-up call. Update 2. I am very appreciative of everyone who commented on my last post and gave me encouragement. I won't be able to respond to all, but I do appreciate it. I wasn't able to resolve this issue with my husband, and I have moved out. I am trying to come to terms with the fact that this is the end of my marriage. My mother-in-law was on my side and talked to my husband about this situation, but he got more annoyed with me because he saw this as me creating more drama between mother and father-in-law and causing old grievances to arise. I showed him the Reddit post I made in the comments, and he accused me of presenting things in a lurid manner to get people on my side. He didn't even read all the discussions, just got enraged and closed the tab. Mother-in-law also talked to father-in-law, who came down on brother-in-law about his behavior. Father-in-law told brother-in-law to leave our house and move in with him. Brother-in-law refused, saying he wants to stay with my husband. My husband came up with the solution that brother-in-law was to stay in his room and I should stay in my bedroom, lock the door, and not get out until he came home from work. This pissed me off even more. I had packed a bag and my documents thinking of leaving anyway. Father-in-law talked to me and said that he doesn't like that we aren't getting along, and brother-in-law will no longer be staying with us. But the next day, brother-in-law came into the house with a group of his friends. I simply grabbed my laptop and left. I am so grateful to the people who have suggested that I be packed and ready to go. I already had everything in my car and could leave with what I needed immediately. I am staying with my mother-in-law now. She is flabbergasted by my husband, who's told her that he'll never ask a close family member to leave his house. It is clear that my husband doesn't even like me, much less care about me at all. He hasn't spoken to me since I left. I am trying to figure out what I should do next. I obviously can't stay with mother-in-law for long, especially since I need to start the divorce process. I could move back in with my dad, but he lives in another state, and that'll make things hard. I don't have any savings and I'm short on money. The majority of my paycheck goes into half of the mortgage and utilities on our house. We have a combined joint account. I have been foolishly spending a lot on decorating the house instead of saving up, and I suppose all that is gone now. I need to figure out my money situation so I can support myself. Now for the advice. Thanks for the update. I'm glad you didn't let this situation go on any longer and that you had the courage to get out of the marriage when you realized you had a husband problem. You're young and you have a new and better beginning ahead of you. I like your parents-in-law. How did they raise such crappy sons? Mother-in-law has been amazing, but she didn't raise brother-in-law. That's father-in-law's son from his second marriage. And father-in-law, well, I think it's good that he told brother-in-law to leave, but he was dismissive of the issue itself, acting like it was a bit of a spat between us. Thank you for this update. I'm very pleased to hear that you are out and safe. I'm dreadfully sorry that your husband has proved himself to be so uncaring and, well, just a complete jerk. My advice now is to continue to have heart-to-hearts with your mother-in-law. She has some good life experiences and may be able to help you in ways that you don't realize. You might also offer to help her pay for rent or for some expenses, food, etc. The most important thing is to start the divorce process immediately and force the sale of the house or force your soon-to-be ex to refinance and buy you out of the mortgage. You don't have children and the house seems to be your main large debt, so getting rid of it is essential. Also, stop paying any utility bills that aren't in your name immediately. Send your soon-to-be ex a list so he knows to pay directly. Any utilities in your name should be put in his name immediately, so when you find a place of your own, you can get new accounts for your new place. If soon-to-be ex gives you any guff about it, simply tell him they need to be switched or you will turn them off, and he can start from scratch. His choice. But the point is that you aren't living there, so you shouldn't be paying for the utilities. You need to start saving immediately. Also, and this one is super important, change every single password for every account before you do anything else, every single one. You're going to be okay, OP. Just don't get stuck or stalled waiting for your soon-to-be ex to stop pouting and get real. Start the process immediately and keep moving forward. Let your lawyer deal with the soon-to-be ex. Best of luck to you. Yes, thank you. I need a checklist of things to do. I've been sitting in a depressed funk for the past few days feeling lost, but I can do all of this now. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for ending an almost 30-year friendship? Update. Original post. My 43 male best friend, 42 male, have been like brothers since the 8th grade. I have been there for pretty much every milestone in he and his family's life. No matter what, he was my brother from another mother and we behaved as such. Over the last 10 or so years, we didn't hang out as much. Both have demanding careers, so anytime we got to hang out, it was very much cherished. The last 5 or 6 times we were supposed to hang out, he straight up ghosted me. No call, no text, just plain not showing up. I would often hear from him the day after with an apology and usually blaming his girlfriend for not being able to get out of the house. And, as always, I told him I understood, maybe we'll catch up next time. So my birthday came up and he offered to go treat me to wings and beer at the sports bar while watching the NCAA tourney. I took him up on it as it's been almost a year since we've seen each other, even though we live in the same city. So we made plans to meet up at 5 p.m. 5:30, no show. 6 p.m., no show. I bet you guys can see what's going on. So I stayed and enjoyed my wings until the game was done and went home. I told my wife what had happened and told her I am over the friendship. She said that we were too close for me just to throw our brotherhood away. But I told her I'm only matching his energy. If our brotherhood doesn't merit a courtesy call or text to inform me you can't make it, especially after being the one to invite me out, then that's no brotherhood I want to be part of. Am I the a-hole in this? And now for some advice before reading the update. Rabbits012 says, it's sad, really. The fact it's him seeming to make arrangements to me seems that he does not want to see you. But it's not good to keep doing this either. Maybe message him and ask what's seriously going on and that you're on the verge of giving up with him and see what he says. I honestly believe it's his girlfriend. She's a lot younger than us and she's always seems uncomfortable around us. My wife has tried several times to get her to join her for a girls' night out, but she always declines. It's an open door policy for them at her home, so I really don't know what this is. French Bread 202